Mayor Franklin?
Yes, would it be in order to make a motion to divide the question with regard to item 17 so that we could vote separately on it?
Yes, a motion to bifurcate can either, if there's no opposition, be adopted by unanimous consent, or if there is opposition, would require a motion and second.
I'd like to offer that motion.
I'd second that, but I would hope that the maker of the motion also might consider item number 3, that everything after regional plan, first sentence be stricken. So that would include no value pricing, no managed lane conversion, high occupancy toll lane conversion, the alleviation against current constraints on transponder technology, transit priority treatments, transportation demand management, and other efforts that promote efficient use of highways and local roads.
So you would divide the question into 3 items, item 3, item 17, and then the balance?
Actually bifurcate number 3 and number 17.
Okay. That would be
Would you
acceptable to
accept
me,
that?
of course.
Would you accept that? Okay. All right. Well, then I still second that.
But wait a second. So the motion, the maker of the motion?
Yeah, I heard it.
Of the second, sorry, it's a substitute motion, right? Or is that was that the motion or the substitute motion? I thought it was already
Okay. Right.
correct. Yeah.
So what I'm understanding is essentially the motion I'm making is to divide it into 3 questions. And then I think when the item comes on number 3, then I think a motion that would make the change you're looking for would accomplish the objective.
That's correct procedurally.
Fantastic. The next item on the agenda is item number 17. Who pulled it? I forgot. Go ahead.
Yeah, I believe that we should actually be opposing efforts to eliminate the 2/3 requirement for special taxes. I believe that that's an element of our state constitution that protects voters and taxpayers. And so I would like to have a vote to remove it, eliminate it from our legislative plan.
Okay.
Or even, let me clarify. I want to make a motion that we oppose efforts to eliminate or to diminish the 2/3 requirement.
Okay. So, yes, ma'am.
At one point, a few years ago, were you talking to me?
Yes.
Okay. At one point a few years ago, we kind of, the compromise was that instead of the majority plus 1, it was 55%, and that many were then comfortable with that. Is that something that you would be comfortable with instead of 2/3, but 55%?
I support the current 2/3 requirement. So
Okay,
I'd like
that's
to
what you
see
said.
us
That's good.
vote on supporting taxpayers' rights.
Okay. I mean, the only thing is to remember that on this item, right, that it's about centering local financing independence, and it's common language that's usually used in local city and programs. I know that Carlsbad and San Marcos have used this before, so that's just backgrounds for folks. Member Shu?
I just have a question, if I can get clarification. There's some things that come before the voters only requires 2/3, a 50% vote in terms of raising funding, and some things, some items, 2/3 vote. So if I can get some clarification, if the SANDAG board puts something before the voters, what the requirement is, if a different entity puts something, gets enough signatures, put something, what are the current rules that we have?
Discuss that at a very high level as it's interpreted today by the courts. If a government entity such as SANDAG puts something before the voters that is a special use tax, then that requires 2/3 approval. However, if it is not put forward by a public entity and instead it's something like a citizen's initiative, then that has been interpreted by the courts as requiring only a majority of the voters.
Excuse me, Chair. I don't think we got a second, but I'm willing to second that motion.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry. I have a substitute just to remove it from the legislative platform completely, because I think you had a modification, correct?
Well, my motion,
Second to motion.
To remove it? Okay,
And speaking out of your motion, my motion was to actually oppose efforts to diminish the 2/3.
So we have a motion and we have a substitute motion that was second. So unless you accept the substitute motion, actually, we would take a vote on the substitute motion, right? Am I correct?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't want to
Modify
complicate this.
unless they-
You had an original motion and a second
Mhm.
on the balance of this. We divided it. That motion and second still stood, even though those were going to be considered separately. So technically, your motion was the substitute motion, Mayor Franklin, and we need to dispose of that substitute motion before you can entertain a second substitute motion.
Oh,
So
what is-
clarifying,
what is
a
your-
yes vote on this motion would put SANDAG in a position of advocating against efforts to remove or diminish the 2/3 requirement.
That
In
is
other
your
words, a yes
substitute
vote would
motion.
support the 2/3 requirement.
And that was, I believe, seconded.
Well, I withdraw my motion then. I wasn't sure what your motion was.
So
Go ahead.
you need to dispose of the substitute motion at this point and either pass it or move on to the original motion.
So we have a motion with a second. Any further discussion?
Pardon me, can you please repeat?
Give me a second, Mayor.
Just, I'm sure everybody's aware that there is a ballot measure that has, it will be on the ballot in 2024 on this subject. So I'm happy to hear there's a willingness to just remove it from the legislative program because it's going to be mooted by, I don't want to put any energy into something that's going to be voted on in 2024
Leave
by
it
the
to the
people.
voters, yeah, but
I was asking for clarification on the motion. And I'm actually interested in hearing whether we can remove, you would be willing to dispense with that motion and move forward with Mayor Jones's motion, which I think is the one that makes the most sense.
Yeah, I'd like to see us vote on opposing efforts to remove the 2/3 because my position is that I oppose efforts to diminish taxpayers' rights by diminishing or eliminating the 2/3 requirements where currently required by law or the Constitution. So I'm going to stand by my motion.
I would just ask the clerk to clarify what is the scope of the substitute motion that we're voting on, so everyone's clear.
John, I'm not sure that I understand.
Yeah,
I
let me
was hoping you
restate it.
could clarify.
Let me restate it. So, yeah, so it would be, we've got support and we've got monitor. It would be to add a third category called oppose. And we would be taking the position of opposing efforts. Let me read it here. We would be opposing efforts to lower the current 2/3 voter requirement for special purpose taxes, such as transportation and quality of life improvements to a simple majority.
so just for clarification from council and clerk, in our current sheet of recommendations, we don't have items that we necessarily oppose. So we're going to create a new category that says oppose, and that's the specific item that would go under there as under number 1, correct?
I believe that's correct.
That's correct.
Okay. So seeing no other, please vote.
Thank you. And with 6 yeses, that motion does not pass.